Hi, I'm Jilly G. Welcome to my kitchen. Today I'm going to show you Ebleskivers, and if you've never had them before, they are kind of like little round pancakes, kind of. You need a specific pan, which I've got right here, and it's just a little cast iron pan. I'll put a link for this below. And you'll see, you know, we make the batter and then we make the little pancake balls. And what I usually do is I do a double batch. And then as I'm standing there making them, I put them on a cookie sheet. And you could just put them in the oven and keep them warm until you're ready to serve. But what I've found is it's kind of a longish process of just flipping your pancakes until they're all done. And because they're so little, it is kind of time consuming. So what I usually do is I make them all. And then if you're having a brunch or a party or something like that, a large breakfast, I put them all on a cookie sheet and stick them in the fridge overnight. And surprisingly, it works really well. And then the next day, when you're ready to have your party, you just put the whole pan in the oven and reheat them, and it really works well. But of course, if you're just doing a single batch, again, I'm doing a double batch today. But if you're doing a single batch, you can just keep a cookie sheet in the oven and just throw them in there as you cook them. Before I do that, I've got about almost 4 cups of pineapple. Once I finish cutting up this little bit, it will be about 4 cups. And I'm gonna make pineapple syrup today. And this is about two medium pineapples is what I've got here. Pineapples were on sale. And so that's what I've got today. And I've made other homemade syrups before. I've done strawberry, cherry, peach, and it's all about the same quantities. It's 4 cups of fruit to 1 cup of sugar, which I use honey, which is a half a cup of honey, and then vanilla. And if you're doing something like strawberries or cherries or peaches, like I've done in the past, I'll add some lemon juice, but I'm not going to add any lemon juice to my pineapple. And I'm just cutting these into pretty small pieces. You could put them in a food processor or a blender if you want to, but I like it kind of chunky. If you can't get fresh pineapple or other fresh fruit isn't in season, I would go with a frozen fruit. I've not made syrup out of canned fruit before. I don't see why it wouldn't work, I've just not ever done it. But if you can't get fresh, get frozen. Frozen works really good. Just thaw it out and then cook it like you would the fresh fruit. So I'm gonna make my syrup first. And once it's done, I'm just actually gonna pour it back into this container. If you have a pretty syrup container, put it in that. But this is what I'm doing. 4 cups of pineapple in there. In fact, I think I'm gonna get a bigger pan, just in case it decides to bubble up. Turn this on about medium-high heat and add in your half a cup of honey. And stir together your pineapple and your honey. And we want to bring this up to a boil. And I didn't add any liquid to this at all. This is just the honey and the pineapple. And once you put the sugar on it, in this case honey, it starts to release juices. And I'm turning this down, almost low, medium low. It's boiling pretty rapidly, but there's a lot of liquid in there. And you don't have to stir it constantly. But I want a lot of that liquid to reduce down. So while that's cooking, I'm going to get together my batter. And so first thing is just the dry ingredients. And I've got everything sitting out. It's at room temperature. In fact, my butter that was melted has kind of solidified a little bit. I also have some extra butter mixed with bacon grease to grease my pan. 5 eggs, 2 cups of milk. So I've got 2 cups of my gluten-free flour, and I don't think I mentioned that this will be gluten-free, as always. And in this little bowl, I've got a half a teaspoon of salt and 1 teaspoon of baking powder, all in there. Really not very much for the dry ingredients. Just lightly mix this together. Again, this is a double batch. I'll give you the equivalents to a single batch. And then I've got about a tablespoon of honey. You would use 2 tablespoons of sugar or 2 tablespoons of brown sugar. You could also do maple syrup, whatever. And then 1 teaspoon of vanilla. But first I'm going to separate my eggs. And we want yolks to go in this bowl, egg whites to go in this bowl. And these are really big eggs. Try to get large eggs. And I know I've showed you before, but the easiest way I found to separate eggs is to just pick up the yolks. Last egg white in there. I'm going to clean up my mess. So set aside your egg whites, and then I've got my 5 yolks in here, and I'm going to add in my 2 cups of milk. You could use heavy cream, or half and half, or even buttermilk, and make a buttermilk version of this. Those are really good too. I've done that before. My tablespoon of honey, teaspoon of vanilla that's splattered all over the kitchen. And because I need my butter to be melted, and it's not, I'm going to put it back in the microwave. So I'm just going to mix my egg yolks, my milk, my vanilla, just until they're really mixed, and this tablespoon of honey. If you were using sugar or brown sugar, you would add it into the dry mix. But because it's honey or even maple syrup, you would add it into this liquid ingredients. And now I'm going to add in my melted butter. And just mix this together till it's really mixed. And you don't want your butter to be hot, or it will cook your egg yolks. Add in your 2 cups of flour, baking powder, and salt. And just mix this together with a spatula. And it's okay if it's a little bit lumpy. You don't want any big pockets of flour, but it's okay if it's a little bit lumpy. I got my whisk. It's a little bit easier. And you can see it's already thickening up because of that baking powder. So set this aside, and we're going to whip our egg whites. I just have my hand mixer with my whisk attachment. We want to whip these to stiff peaks, but first I'm going to stir my syrup. So while that's simmering, I'm going to whip my egg whites to stiff peaks. So these are almost to stiff peaks. But I'm going to make room, move this over here, take care of these. So I want to start heating up my pan because it is cast iron. It does take a few minutes to get hot. And just over medium heat. And then I just have a regular spoon. It's a smallish spoon. And that's what we'll use to spoon these in. You'll want to be careful of the handle of your pan because it does get hot. And then I have a little pastry brush. Again, my butter and bacon grease, which it's soft enough that I can do this. So that's ready. And then I also have 2 skewers. These are really long. You can get shorter ones, but this is what I have. And so what we do is once this is all stiff and we mix it together with this, I'll show you that. But this is what we use to flip over our little pancake balls. So these are what we use to turn over our Ebleskivers. So these are ready everything is ready. The pan is heating up. Stir your syrup, and I'm going to whip these till they're stiff. This is what we're looking for. Stiff peaks. We're done with that. Bring back our egg and milk mixture and flour. Just going to give it a stir. Kind of scrape off the bottom because it's been sitting. And then what I'm going to do is we're going to go a little bit at a time. So get, a pretty good dollop here. And I'm just going to stir this in. I'm not worried about collapsing the air yet. And the whole purpose of mixing in just a little bit at first is we're lightening up the batter. And then once it lightens up, we can fold in the rest of the egg whites. And you see how different the batter already is. Just from that little bit of egg white already in there, it's already a lighter batter. And I'm not going to add all of it in yet. I'm going to go about half of the egg whites. And now we're going to fold these in. And the last of our egg whites, fold this in. And once you can't see any big chunks of egg white anymore, and it looks kind of puffy like this, it's ready to go. Move everything aside. Move over my cookie sheet. And bring my batter over here. And this is pretty hot. One way to find out for sure is I'm just going to add a little bit of butter and bacon grease in and see if it sizzles. And it's sizzling, so I'm just going to brush each little well with butter and bacon grease. And if you notice that your pan is getting too hot, you can turn your heat down just a little bit if you need to. And with our spoon and just a spoonful of batter in each one, and we're going about 3/4 of the way full. Once they look a little bit dry and they have little bubbles forming, kind of like regular pancakes, take your 2 skewers, and sometimes the first little bit is not very pretty, but you just flip it over. And sometimes if you feel like it's going to stick, I go around the outside. And just like any pancakes, sometimes the first ones aren't very pretty. And then you just cook on the other side. Stir your syrup. And I just flip them back over just to see how brown they are on the other side. Add a little more butter and bacon grease and fill up again. Very carefully without making a mess. And just because this might burn, just takes a little bit of practice. And I just flip them all over again just to see what's happening on the bottom. And these are ready to go on the cookie sheet. And just keep going. And you can see how much liquid has evaporated from my pineapple. And that's about where I want it to be. So I'm going to turn the heat off, stir in my vanilla. And in my same 4-cup container, pour my syrup. And just let that cool off. As you noticed, it's not really a syrup that you would pour on. It's really chunky, but it's so good on these little Ebleskivers. And this is just a vanilla batter. There are so many different recipes. You can put cinnamon, again, brown sugar. You could put nuts. Really, you could do so many different flavors. There's a lot of different recipes out there. Again, this is just the basic batter. If you wanted to make these savory and do, say, like a ham and cheese filling, when you first put in the batter, and it starts to kind of set around the edges, you'd put in, just a little teeny bit, but like one little piece of ham and some cheese. And then you'd put a little bit more batter, and then flip them over, so then your filling is on the inside. You can do jam, nuts, you can do anything you want to fill these. And you could do them savory or sweet. There's so many different options. And the first batch is a little tricky to get used to these skewers, but it really... You pick it up pretty quick, and it's really easy. So I just flip them back over, make sure they're golden brown on both sides. So a double batch fills up one of these really large cookie sheets. And then not quite a full pan that you get to eat. That won't fit on here. I have a little plate here. And our syrup. It has thickened up quite a bit, and it will thicken up more as it cools off. It's still pretty warm. And I just like to put a little bit on it or next to it, and a little bit of sour cream. I know it sounds like a strange combination, but it's actually really good. Make sure to get some of your pineapple in there, and of course the sour cream. If you don't like sour cream, you could always sprinkle powdered sugar on top of here, whatever you want to put on top. If you've never tried sour cream with fruit before, it is so good together. They're really good. This is such a great meal for brunch. You can do savory or sweet. They go with anything. And when you do a double batch and you make so many like this, they're perfect for a buffet. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you haven't already. Thank you to everybody that watches my videos. Thank you so much to everybody that comments. Thank you to my patrons. I hope everybody had a happy new year. And I am excited for this next year to come and what I have to share with you. I have so many more recipes to share. And I hope you like them as much as I do. Thank you again so much for watching. If you have any questions or comments, let me know. And we'll see you on the next one.